What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I gotta have that Teej pack. Teej makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun, and a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing, my favorite part about Teej Henley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Teej Henley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Teej Henley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Teej Henley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Teej pack. Feel the Teej, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. It is February 23rd, Thursday. End of this month is going pretty slow. February 23rd, Thursday, 2023 year of our Lord. Welcome to the Millionaire Morning Show. I am live streaming from the crib. Rita asked me to live stream from home today. For some reason, she's been feeling extra needy along with my daughter right there. My daughter is over there making breakfast. She has my headphones on that she stole from me. Noise canceling, AirPod Maxes. Interesting. Anyways, what's going on, my friends? I got my dogs is in the building. Let me see what's happening in the chat. It's going to be a wild show today. I'm going to just tell y'all right away. I'm about to get the housekeeping out of the way. I'm about to get things rolling because it's going to be an incredible show. I don't even know what order I'm going to do things. Shout out to Big Suggs is in the building. Darren Jackson, what up, though? My dog, Kojak. What's going on, my friend? Treese Westmoreland, S. Chanel. Classy Beats. Much appreciated. Florida boy, Randy. Shout out to my West Coast people. I heard y'all getting a storm, snow heading over to the West Coast. Y'all ain't gonna know what to do. Legacy Builders, what's happening? Produced by yours truly says, look at financial, energy, and hospital companies to measure the economy. Some tech companies as well, but no Meta private company. Interesting. Zuyo says, is this really live or pre-recorded? That should just answer your question right there. Ayo fam, Mr. Youngblood City, Shaquille Stevenson says, how's everybody doing? Tap In Productions, what's happening? Paris Johnson, what up though? Terrell LMAO says, sweet, I'm not late to the live. Good morning, famo. What up? SD is in the building. Jay Giant, what's happening? A box and a preach, thumbs down. My girl Q, what up Q? What up everybody that's in the chat? Let me get to some of these super chats. See what y'all talking about. Tay-Biz TV with the early fireball says, shout out to all of the bag chasers. Good morning, Time Dog. Get in the bag and ready for a great show. Much love. It's going to be a crazy show today. My dog, Quentin, with the fireball says, shout out to Anton and his ugly A hat. See, I can't cuss right now because my daughter right there. But that's all right. I'm going to get you, Quentin. This hat is fire. I don't know what Quentin is smoking on. Without question says, I'm going to have to catch you on a playback. I know this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a replayable live right here, family. I'm telling you. Dom says, big up to the Baby Yoda hat. How was Disney? Disney was very, very incredible, and it was very, very expensive. Let me show y'all what my payment was because I don't carry a balance on my credit cards. And you know I like to show the receipts. I'm going to show you guys what my payment was back onto my credit card because you know you got to get the hotel or the Airbnb rather. And you got to get the, Leslie, it's done. And you got to get the rental car and all of this other type of stuff. So you practically need at least one credit card if you're a person that travels a whole lot, right? So I'm going to show y'all what my total bill was since a lot of people don't think that I'm telling the truth a lot of times. I don't know why y'all still be testing me. You know Anton don't mind showing the receipts. You know Anton don't mind showing the receipts. I got to log into that one. My total bill, this is what I wind up paying. Let me make sure I know too many more transaction details. This is what I wind up paying. Let me flip that around. This was the total amount after all of the charges settled that I wind up paying for Disney. See it? February 21st, transaction type. That's how much I paid for my total trip for Rita and Leslie's birthday, which, by the way, did not include gifts. So the gifts ran that total up exponentially more. I wound up spending over $15,000 to go over to Disney, but we had a ball. We had a ball. It was worth every dime, but it wasn't because Disney was awesome. It was more or less because we were just having fun no matter what we did. If we just went to a picnic every day, it would have been fun. If we would have road tripped, it would have been fun. So I'm going to deep dive into that in a little bit more, but thank you for the super chat, Dom. I appreciate you. Emmett Trill says, would you ever go on Adam Sosnick or PBD's podcast? What do you think of modern life dating? Yeah, I would go on there. I don't see any problem with him whatsoever. I think, why not? Why wouldn't I go on there? Let me flip this over. I like mirroring myself. Brock says, Pastor, that Crimson Cure interview you just dropped in the Patreon is phenomenal. You were an awesome interviewer, and she is an incredible guest. Thank you. I wish everyone could see it. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. So, with that being said, Brock has already let the cat out of the bag. Shout out to my bag chasers. And Brock has already helped y'all to understand that I dropped the interview inside of the Patreon, just like I said I was. I didn't tell you who I was going to drop, what I was going to drop, but I absolutely dropped the interview inside of the Patreon, and it's fire. There's so many gems. It's so many things I didn't know about Crimson that I had to ask, and we just had this beautiful conversation that I think that every woman and every man, women specifically, especially women, but every man and every woman needs to go and see that interview. It's absolutely incredible. So if y'all have not joined the Patreon, consider joining the Patreon for all of the gems, the uncensored interviews. It's not even available on YouTube. I will not make the full interview available on YouTube at all. So if you want to tap into all of the exclusive content that I drop, if you want the mastermind sessions, if you want the webinar, if you want to learn how to level up and get more money, tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. In addition to that, if you need to kick it with me personally, email me at Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com. Again, not on Instagram, not none of that. Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com, and I'm gonna make sure you get taken care of. So shout out to you, Brock, for already tapping into that interview because I just dropped it this morning. Vern says, sometimes you, sometimes me, always us, pouring back into you and the chasers. Shout out to Vern. Vern, I met Vern on Patreon, right? But what I didn't know when I met Vern, and I also did a coaching session with Vern, was that he was from Detroit, right? And with Vern being from Detroit and with me wanting to do business with the people that I love the most, Vern is a reoccurring guest on my Friday and Saturday night live streams in which sometimes I bring in guests, but we have panels that we do in the studio here live in Detroit. And so Vern is now a recurring guest, and Vern is getting paid to be a reoccurring guest. So shout out to all of my people. You know I got to take care of my people. Shout out to Vern for the 50 ball. I appreciate you, big dog. I got my dog. Hold on, let me come back to that. Jeff, what up, Jeff? I rock with you, big dog. Hey, me and you got some conversations that we need to have. Janessa Tacoma says, good afternoon, brother Anton Daniels and family. Hope all is well with you. Thank you. I appreciate you, Janessa, and thank you for being a reoccurring person that always support the platform. Embrace Black says, peace, fam. I admire your tenacity. We all over this thing. We all over this thing. Let me get to a couple more super chats and then we're going to get it rocking. Jeremy Clay says, can you elaborate on why you don't carry a balance on your credit card? Do you use it and instantly pay the transaction or pay it off before the statement due date? I personally pay it as soon as the things post. So I don't need my credit card for anything other than to do the things that I need to do on a regular basis, as far as like the things that you can't do with a regular debit card, right? So again, rental cars, hotels, you often at times need a credit card. And so me specifically, I use a Marriott card because I'm a Marriott member. I used to have my Amex Platinum, but when we start coming up on the renewal rate or on the renewal fee, I went ahead and canceled it because I don't need two credit cards. I don't care about the points and all that other type of stuff. I am a Sky Miles member. I am a Medallion member on Delta and all of that. So I can transfer my points back and forth. But I don't carry a balance because I don't believe in paying the interest to service whatever it is that they forward me. I don't need the card. The only reason I use it is to reserve things. And because I have to have a credit card, then I'm going to get a card that's more closely aligned with the lifestyle that I have, such as staying in hotel rooms because I travel a lot. So I decided to go with the Marriott. I don't need the Amex on top of it. The initial fee, they waived it for us because we had such a high credit score and we had such a high income. So that was one of the reasons why I had the Amex in the first place. But I wasn't going to pay a fee in order to keep it. So the Platinum Amex, by the way, and I showed people that. But I don't carry a balance because I don't want to pay the loan fees, or I don't want to pay to service the credit card. So I'm never going to pay anything to a credit card company. And as a matter of fact, I advocate for people not to have credit cards. If you need it, probably you should get a secured credit card because most people are not disciplined enough to have a credit card. Shout out to Q says that 15K ain't nothing for you. You make that in a day. Shh. Shh. Dropping 20 videos. Hey, Rita and Les, it's y'all B-Day month still. Why do women think that it's important to have a whole month for their B-Days? I don't know what that is. Shout out to Q. Shout out to all of my people. I'm going to be reading the super chats throughout the show. So I have not forgot y'all. I have starred y'all super chat, and I'm definitely going to be reading throughout the show. But let me get into the thick of things, right? Before we get started into the show, first of all, make sure y'all tap into the Alpha Juice Company. They are heavy supporters of what it is that we do here. That discount code is in the description. If you are a part of the Bag Chasers, if you're a part of the Patreon, make sure you get your Alpha Juice. This is what I have for breakfast every morning. And it is absolutely positively beneficial. Thank you, Persevere Data, and everybody else that's contributed. I'm definitely going to be reading the super chats throughout the show. The thing that I do want to say to y'all before we get into this, because we're going to go right into the Abba and Preach thing, right? The thing that I want to say to y'all before we get into it is that when you're planning your life, I want you to start thinking about what your number is. Sometimes, depending on the conversations that I have with people on coaching calls, and again, if you need to get in touch with me, it's Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com. I'll get you set up for a Zoom call or a personal call. When you start to plan out your life, and I tell y'all this all the time, in order for you to continue to be successful, you have to reverse engineer what you want your life to look like. So specifically, and I'm going to break it down from a C student's perspective so that everybody can understand it. I don't want to leave anybody behind. I don't want anybody to say that they don't understand. Specifically, right? When you're in grade school and you're working through school, they literally have an end goal for you, but you as a kid, you as a child, you as a growing teenager, often at times, you don't know what that is. And you know that you want to graduate high school, but if you were to compartmentalize it and say, well, it's going to take me 12 years in order to get through high school, it would be much difficult for a lot of people to survive. And that's why a lot of people drop out within urban communities because they can't see past their current circumstance, okay? They break things down into milestones in order to ensure that you stay on this path to graduate. So they say, okay, you got to go through elementary school, middle school, high school. When you go through high school, you got to do 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And then we need to break this down further into semesters. And then you work diligently towards whatever that end goal is that they set for you. Same thing happens in college for those that choose to go to college. One of the reasons why a lot of people don't go to college, and even when they do go to college, they don't pick a curriculum or a pathway to actually make a lot of money. They go into underwater basket weaving, is because they now have the choice to choose for themselves. When you have the choice for choosing for yourself, you often at times choose wrong, and you leave room in order to not have the vision for whatever it is that you're trying to execute on. Let me bring it further into what it is that I want to say to you. When I talk to adults on a regular basis and they say, Anton, I need your help. And I say, okay, well, what does that look like? Where do you need my help at? And then I have a conversation with you to better understand where you came from, where you currently at, what your circumstances are, and then what your goals are, because I don't believe that anybody is a monolith. You can't give a one size fits all solution to each and every individual. They are their own people. They have their own goals. They have things that they're trying to accomplish and hurdles that they're trying to overcome, right? And so I'll ask you, okay, well, what is it that you want? And most people, they say, I want to be rich, or I want to be successful, or I want to be great, or I want to be financially free. And then I ask them, I say, well, what does that look like? What does that mean to you? What does being financially free mean to you? I want to have passive income, or I want to be really rich. Okay, well, break it down for me. I don't know. What do you make a year? And then that's what they start asking me. What is it that I make? And then they start mimicking their goals based off of how I live my life personally. Well, I want to make over $100,000 a month. I want to be able to spend over $100,000 a month. Well, that just tells me that you lost vision or sight of what it was that they taught you early in life, in order to start with the end goal, reverse engineer it, and then start to break down what you want success to look like for you in milestones, so that you can know that you have a path in order to get there. Because most people have some outsized things that they don't even really believe, but because they've seen it on Instagram, they think that that's what they're supposed to say. The other side of the equation is you need to start with a number, and that number is often at times informed by what it is that you really want to do in your lifestyle. And when I say what you really want to do, I think you need to really break it down in grave detail into the exact things that you want to do. Now, this can change, but you need to break it down. So what do I mean, for example? What do you want to drive? Not what you not what you can accept right now, not what you can afford, not what your current car is. What do you really want to drive? If you could drive anything and you can own anything, what does that look like? Benz, McLaren, Porsche, Mercedes, Lamborghini, you want the Cullinan. It's not my dream, it's your dream. It's your dream. Where do you want to live? In the United States specifically, or do you want to live abroad? What kind of house do you want? Or do you like less maintenance? Do you want to live in a city? Do you want to live in the suburbs? How many kids do you want? What do you want your wife to do for a living? When we start to break these things down, you start to then give you a realistic idea of what you need to be working towards, and then you have a final number. And it's an equation that I give to my people. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. But there's a final number that you need. My number specifically is not my end goal, but it's the number that I'm working towards right now is 25 million. Now that seems crazy to a lot of people. That's NBA money, right? But my number continues to evolve based off of the success that I have, which means that my purpose is aligned with my growth. What you were when you were 20 is different from what you are when you're 30, and what you are when you're 30 is different from what you are when you're 40. When you start to break down what lifestyle is really supposed to be, now my number is closely associated with being able to sustain what it is that I do in my lifestyle for the rest of my life, while also making sure that my daughter is taken care of, and having that foundation to where my principle is always going to stay the principle, but I can largely live off of what it makes for me, the interest, what my assets then generate for me, and then I live off of that. My number is 25 million. For 25 million for me, I'm straight for the rest of my life, and I don't have to ever do anything. And that's assets, that's net worth, not 25 million in cash, that's net worth. The thing that you have to ask yourself, and your number don't have to be my number, and your number can be bigger than my number, whatever it is, what is your number? Because once you determine what that number is, and I expect for your number to be much more than 100,000 or 500,000 or $1 million. What is your number? And the reason why I want you to give me a number is because I want you to actively be working towards something that's actually beneficial for your life. If you're just waking up like an accident and going to work every day, talking about, well, I'm average. The average person don't have enough to be able to substantiate themselves in retirement. The average person is going to be dependent on Social Security in order to make sure that they're good for the rest of their life. The average person will depend on Medicaid. Now, I'm not saying that that's not going to be true for the overwhelming majority of the people in the United States. What I'm telling you is that what we do over the bag chasers, we don't advocate for average. So if you're going to be here, if you're going to join the Patreon, if you're going to get coaching sessions, if you're going to rock with me, if you're going to be taking in this game, if you're going to hit a like for the YouTube algorithm in order to ensure that we're absolutely positively winning, then I need for you to look at what an end goal is, break down what you want out of life. What school do you want your kids to go to? How much is it going to cost you in order to make sure that they pay for tuition? Do you want them to go to an Ivy League school because it's going to cost more? Do you want to send them to private school even if you don't have kids? Do you want one kid? Do you want 3 kids? Do you want your chick to be able to work from home, or do you want her to work at all, or do you want her to work for you? Do you want to spend the majority of your life traveling on the road to where you don't actually have any real place that you live at because you're a digital nomad? You need to break down what you want out of life, and nobody can tell you what you want. Don't sit here and take into consideration what your chick is thinking. Don't go by what your parents told you or none of that type of stuff. Tell me what you want out of life, and then you form everything else around it, and you spend the rest of your life living in bliss while also being a thing or a reflection of the thing that you're chasing. Because you're going to start formulating how it is that you see things based off of the goals and the people you align yourself with that's going in the direction of what it is that you're chasing. There's some friends, there's some family members that's never ever going to be in the same sphere as you because they can't envision themselves being anything more than a hood booger. They can't envision themselves being anything more than a plant worker. Now, we're not killing the blue collar worker. We're not killing the people in the hood. What I'm saying is you have a bigger calling on your life that's more than your circumstances and more than your environment. And so you're going to have to mind that out because you're not supposed to be in the hood for the rest of your life. You're not supposed to be hanging out with just the same old just because they were born of the same bloodline, and that's something that you can't control. Your family, your path, and the thing that you're supposed to do is much greater than your current circumstance. You got to start with the end goal, reverse engineer it, and then we can start to create the milestones that allow for you to actually reach and become the thing that you're advocating for. We're not going to be poor. We're not going to be broke. We don't even think under duress. We go about looking at things a completely different way so that we can make sure that we get all of the money, all of the resources, all of the great relationships, and everything good that comes along with being intentional. Make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I'm going to touch on Grant Cardone tomorrow. That's a Friday show. Let me read some more of these super chats, and then we're going to get it rocking. Again, I appreciate you, Vern. You are much, much, much appreciated, my friend. Classy Beat says, Bag Chasers, we up. So glad I found this channel in the dope community. It's a great group of people, isn't it? It's a phenomenal group of people. Love C says, hey, Anton, and the Rita the Crimson Cure interview was fire. I watched it this morning. I could have listened to that at least another hour. Her book is phenomenal. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon so y'all can go and get that interview. Mel Duke says, good afternoon, Anton. Keep it rolling, big dog. I appreciate you, Mel Duke. Ray Lewis says, clutching my poor pearls. Y'all a mess. Nino C says, appreciate you, bro. About to get a one-on-one session with you soon. Congratulations. You're a winner. I see you one of those winners that we keep talking about. You one of those winners that we keep talking about, huh, Nino C? All right. He also says, 10 to 15 million is my mark. And by the way, the Lord is with you, bro. God has anointed you for this and much more. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I love God. Persevere. Oh, Jesus. Here we go with Persevere Data TV. Throwing the bag up in the air like we strippers in a strip club on a Thursday morning. Says, every time work gets heavy, I remember where this economy is going and why I have to keep stacking bags. Thank you for always giving us the game, bro. Chasers with the 100 ball on top of that. So please don't ignore the fact that he dropped the 100 ball on us on this Thursday morning on the Lord's Day. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Persevere Data TV. I love you. Lucid Experience with the 2 ball says, war with AMP. What happened? Well, let's get into it. So I woke up this morning. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. I woke up this morning, right? And I seen a new post from Abba and Preach. Literally 1 hour before we were supposed to go live. Now, lucky for me, I had a lot of different meetings that I had to attend today. And so as a result, I did not plan for this live stream as soon as I should have, right? On the flip side, when I opened up YouTube this morning, after I decided to get out of my meeting so that I can plan for this live stream less than an hour prior to this live stream going live, which is one of the reasons why it's at 12 o'clock, because I had a meeting today. This is the first thing that I see in my YouTube algorithm, right? Now, a lot of you are familiar. For those of you that's new to the channel, make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. A lot of you that are new to the channel are unfamiliar with I did a couple of videos that were very, very popular about Donovan Sharp. Specifically, one of the videos was Donovan and Abba and Preach, because Abba and Preach had just did a show on Donovan Sharp. Now, let me preface this by saying, and I'm going to be reading super chats throughout the show, I have no smoke whatsoever. Donovan Sharp has never personally said or did anything to me. The only reason I even know about Donovan Sharp is through Kevin Samuels. Donovan Sharp also exists in this manosphere space that I think a lot of people also place me into. I don't really care where you place me. Just make sure that you place me with the money. You know what I'm saying? I'm green pill. Forget all of this red pill, blue pill stuff. I'm green pill. I'm about that bread, all right? But the interesting thing about it, though, is because I react to all content, so I try to be as objective as possible, but it was pretty cringe. After doing that, I became familiar with the idea or what somebody sent me, and that Donovan had basically called out Abba and Preach and called out Preach's, I don't know which one is, sometimes I forget. He called out one of their wives, right? The darker one. He called out his wife, right? And this was a previous while ago as a result. And I'm just giving y'all and bringing y'all up to speed because I have not watched this video yet. We gonna see it together. He mentioned his wife and he kind of went at him, but he went at him on behalf of Fresh and Fit, because we all know that Abba and Preach and Fresh and Fit had a big tiff like a year or two ago or whatever, right? Here's the thing though. Since I did that review video of the original video that Abba and Preach did of Donovan Sharp, they dropped another video. And it was a very cringe video of Donovan training his girl or teaching guys how it was that they were supposed to operate with their girl and if you leave her and all of this other type of stuff. I seen the video and I chose not to do a review on it because even though it was pretty hilarious, I'm trying to figure out one of two things, okay? And let me gather my thoughts. I'm a C student. I'm trying to figure out one of two things. A, as I review this video, before I watch it, did Donovan deserve it as a result of calling out one of their wives? Because you can't control how somebody decides to respond to it. And obviously they're talking about more than just Donovan Sharp. They're also talking about, I think that's Rollo Tomasi. Does Donovan deserve this? Or does this then start to become a little bit more of bullying? Hear me out. I have not watched the video. Does Donovan deserve it? Because you can't control how people decide to respond to a threat on their family, especially their wife. And at what point do you say, okay, it's starting to become bullying? I decided not to do a review video on the last video that they dropped on Donovan Sharp after I did that first video, because I'm like, I mean, I know it's entertaining, but I couldn't see the educational content that we can grasp out of it, right? But now that I'm seeing him going back to back and back to back, and I haven't been to Donovan's channel, I have not seen Rollo Tomasi's channel. I've never watched any of Rollo Tomasi's content. I am familiar that Rollo Tomasi is one of the people in the manosphere that has created, and you know, he's big over here or whatever, so on and so forth. But these are the things that I am trying to keep in mind as I go down this rabbit hole to review this video. So make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, I am going to open up the platform at the end of the show for you guys to be able to come up and give me your opinions on this thing. Again, this video just dropped today. I have not seen it, and I want to go through it, all right? Hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you share it with your friends and family. Tap into the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Alpha Juice Company, all of the discount codes is in the description. Don't order it without getting the Alpha Juice. I am going to be reading super chats throughout the show. Thank you to everybody that contributes to the show. Let's get into it. I'm scared. I am scared.
Bring it. Please. I'm begging you. Right here on the chin. Do it. Do it. Do it now. I'm begging you. Beware of who you come at in this sphere. Beware.
Oh, if you don't know what's happening right now, this guy's called the...
I don't know what's about to happen right now. I don't know what's about to happen. You cannot ask for something and then somebody decide to oblige you. You cannot ask for something. I have not seen this video at all. Literally, I have not seen 1 second of this video. And if they started off like that, okay. They said, I'm going to oblige him. What movie is that from, y'all? I'm a movie buff. Oblige. I give y'all a hint. Brad Pitt. Oblige him.
The godfather of the red pill. He wrote a book that a lot of people think is really important. Some of you other people might know him as Tim Pool's father. And he's upset that we talked about Donovan Sharp being a fraud.
Is he Tim Pool's father?
No, they just, for some reason, are both grown men who wear beanies every day on screen. I don't know. I think for Tim Pool, it's more acceptable because like he's in his 20s, but like you're a 50-year-old man married wearing beanies every day.
Maybe he's cold. I understand.
Is Rollo Tomasi married? I don't know anything about Rollo Tomasi. Is Rollo Tomasi married?
The sentiment.
Yeah. Marriage is a lonely life. Sorry. It's just something about the dude who's like been married for 25 years. I'll be like, let me tell you about dating, guy. I mean, shut your old ass up. You ain't been dating forever. You dated while motherfuckers were using Morse code to get at each other.
Typewriters.
Typewriters?
If I used typewriters,
yeah,
and he used
typewriters. Hey, he got 15 years on you. He one of them old. Okay.
But let me explain one other thing to you. Abba and Preach, before you start like mouthing off with bullshit like that, especially with people that I know. And again, I'm not defending Donovan. That's his house. He can go do you want it? Oh, he's defending him. Go talk to Donovan. That's on him. Did he do it? Well, yeah, clearly he's talked to it. He's talked about it. He took the hit for it way back when Anthony came at him back in 2020. That Abba and Preach clearly didn't know anything about because they wouldn't have come up with this lame contrived video. And they even admit in the video that they got the information from Anthony. Could it be because he's paying you to do these attack piece videos? I can't wait for the one on me. Shills of Anthony Johnson. But you're happy to take that fucking money and run with it. It's a paid, it's product placement.
Take people out.
Yeah, he said we're paid by it. First off, I didn't even know his name was Anthony Johnson. I just know him as the guy from 21 Studios. I don't know much about him. Okay, I don't know much about him.
Now, let me also explain to you guys that I did have 21 Studios on my show. He showed up in the chat. I invited him up because I wanted to ask him some questions on what was going on between him and Donovan Sharp and what was the inception of the beef between a lot of the different people that are having beef with a lot of people that's in this space. And 21 Studios, he was gracious enough to come up and explain and give me some insight, some understanding. And so I appreciated him for coming on the platform and giving me that insight. But now it looks as though 21 Studios, because Abba and Preach used a lot of his content or a lot of their content, them and another content creator, I forgot their name, in order to substantiate that they believed that Donovan was a fraud and that he was lying about how it was that he was operating and the advice that he was given and he shouldn't be taken seriously. All right. So that's the context. All right.
But if you think we get paid to cover anybody, you are bugging.
You can't prove something that did not happen.
That's my point. So you got to bring the proof. You can't just make that kind of allegation.
No, but the whole rant is irrational. But whatever.
I'm not here defending Donovan. Proceeds to try to defend Donovan by discrediting us. But hey,
with bogus allegations.
Yeah.
And I think you put a price on how much we were paid.
Hey, but don't we get mad at ladies when they make false allegations?
That's fair. Those are some very serious allegations. That's why we need this level of accuracy. That's why we need to speak in terms in ways that are that leave no room for error.
It turns out that It turns out that even rational males or red pill dweebs, right? They turn into making up false allegations about people, right? Funny. When they don't like them.
That's funny.
They just make it up. Look at this. He said we get paid for it.
Funny how they talk about these bitches, and then come to find out you the bitch.
Yo. But hey, anyways, let's listen to Tim Pool's dad.
Tell me who's left. I can't. Please do it again. I would love to recover this, because you do that, I'll be happy to release all of the screen caps I have of you cyber stalking my daughter. Bring it, please. I'm begging you.
It's getting messy. It's getting messy, ladies and gentlemen. The question that I have for you guys that are also bag chasers and Alpha Juice Company supporters, and that you're using the discount code that I have inside of the description in order to order your Alpha Juice. The question that I have for you guys is the financial profitability that comes along with having these conversations or going back and forth with each other, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? If the goal is to be entertaining, because let's be clear, we are on an entertaining platform, and then B, also give insight and information on how people can level up, at what point does it go beyond entertainment and then it starts to get into toxicity, right? At what point does it go beyond entertainment, and then at what point does it go into toxicity? Because I've heard a lot of times that a lot of people are saying stuff like, oh man, the manosphere is in disarray and is broken, and ever since Kevin Samuels passed away that things went bad and so on and so forth. We over here, which I'm not necessarily saying that I'm a part of the manosphere. Again, I don't place myself anywhere in particular. I'm just a guy that loves to do what I do, that make a lot of money and gives people the game and insight and information based off of how I live my life in real life. At what point is the juice not worth the squeeze? There's been people specifically that I've had beefs with that were not even any fault of my own, in my opinion, that I decided that I wanted to step back from and say, you know what? Not even really worth going down that path, because I did the cost-benefit analysis, and there is really no benefit to making money off of this in the near term versus the long-term repercussions that come along with it. Who loses and who wins in this back and forth? Do they both get more visibility? Do somebody lose something? Do somebody lose subscribers? Do people lose credibility? That's what I want y'all to take into consideration while we looking at this.
Right here on the fucking chin. Do it. Do it. Do it now. I'm begging you.
I don't know. It's just weird watching a grown man say, come for me, come after me. I'm waiting for it. Like, calm down. I don't care about your stuff. I don't care about your content. I think you're another one of them red pill goofballs from what I can see right now. And also, I think it's interesting people call things hit piece when they just don't like the truth being exposed about them. What did we say in there that's a lie? According to you, we didn't make up any lies. So how is it a hit piece?
Go talk to Donovan. That's on him. Did he do it? Well, yeah, clearly.
You guys know what a hit piece is? It's when you bring out false information to misrepresent somebody. But that's who he is. That's his videos. We didn't take things out of context. So if you want to make the claim and the false allegation that's a hit piece, you have to provide the evidence. But again, red pill dudes, much like the women they love to criticize and the bimbos that they meet in Miami, are very emotional and love to make false allegations that they can't prove themselves.
Abin Preach, you are treading on thin fucking ice, my friend. Because when Donovan does his response video to you, you can expect that he's going to quote, or he's going to bring up the video of you and your milking video with Shan Booty.
Okay. Okay, I guess this is I guess this is the ammunition these guys think they have against me, that I like getting my ass ate every now and then. Sure, yeah. Oh, nigga, I don't really care what you guys think. If I have an attractive woman who wants to do that and I enjoy it, then we can do it. I don't give a fuck. Is that? You see how juvenile and irrational these masculine leaders get whenever you slightly poke? I didn't even poke this dude. I poked the next man. Pause, because poking is kind of sus. But I poked the next man. Okay? And this guy had a reaction like, you.
All right. Let's pause for one moment. All right. Listen, to all of the fellas out there that like to get their salad tossed, I'm not really sure you should be talking about that online. All right? That is a little wild. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to need y'all to keep some of the stuff that y'all got going on in the bedroom in the bedroom. Secondly, Rollo Tomasi. If Donovan Sharp, and he had information that Donovan Sharp was putting together this all-out war video in which he was going to be going at Abba and Preach, why is he telling them what it is that Donovan Sharp is planning? Because it then takes the hit off of the hit piece. It just becomes a piece because Rollo Tomasi has already exposed exactly what was under his. He already exposed Donovan's hand. What kind of friend is that? This is why y'all need to be able to operate without telling everybody else what it is that you got going and what you're going to do, and just do what you're going to do and just rock out. It kind of reminds me of people, and when these modern women, they get on these panels and they say stuff like, and I'm about to leave, so goodbye, and then they give me an opportunity to be able to cut you off and say, F that B, you know, and all of that other type of stuff. Like, why are you... Have any of y'all read The Art of War or the 48 Laws of Power? One thing that Abba is saying right now is basically like, yo, you can't expose me on something that I've already admitted to and I don't really even care. One side is playing chess, it looks like, and the other side is trying to play chess, but they playing Chinese checkers. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it.
Oh, you pussy. Who cares?
So if I understand,
Yeah.
if I understand clearly, you're saying, oh, well, wait until he replies and he does it. He made false assumption about my wife.
That's fair.
And dragged a whole person that has nothing to do romantically with me and dragged that person on a 5-hour live.
Preach.
That's fair. That's fair. They went at a woman that they thought was Preach's wife. And the one thing that I will say about Abba and Preach is they never responded to it. They waited until they got the whole thing together, and then they just blew up Donovan's spot. That's a war tactic. That's a move right there.
Your wife is a fat. I'm going to say that one more time. Preach, your wife is a fat.
And now you're mad because we exposed some shit that he said?
That is true.
But you cannot see what the fuck he did? But you're like, nah, yeah, he did whatever he did, whatever. You go over that. When the person went on the web and slander a person that had nothing to do with anything.
Hey, listen.
How does that work in your mind? How are you calling yourself rational? And that is the situation, and you're like, nah.
And you're defending it.
How, bro?
Fresh. My man's 28 going on 80, and I don't want that to be you guys. And that's why today's sponsor, T.H. Henley's coming in to save the day.
Let me go
You don't know
ahead.
what to do, and it's a bit over 30% off your first skin.
Beware of who you come at in this sphere. Beware. And it's not, and you better be clean. You better have a fucking clean nose before you do that. Because I know damn well you took money. I know damn well why. There's no earthly reason for you to actually just out of the blue do a hit piece on Donovan Sharp. There's no reason.
I thought that they did the whole video on Donovan Sharp because Donovan Sharp, as Preach just explained, did a whole 5-hour live stream talking about who he thought was Preach's wife, which is kind of out of bounds. The one thing that I will say about a lot of these guys is that they stick together. They do a lot of infighting, but they also stick together. And I don't know who's friends and who's not because I operate in my own little space with my own little people, with my own little baby platform, and I'm cool and I'm chilling. But you can't come at somebody's wife and do a whole 5-hour live stream and then expect for it just to roll over, which is kind of wild to me because I don't really even know why you would come at somebody else's wife on behalf of somebody else who choose not to even continue in engaging with Abba and Preach. So if Fresh and Fit is chilling and they getting their money and they buying their cars and they kicking these hoes out of their studio and doing whatever it is that they doing, and they running up the numbers and they got over 1 million subscribers and they not going back and forth with Abba and Preach, why would I be going back and forth with Abba and Preach? This sounds like, if I had to equate this to hip hop, this sounds like Memphis Bleak going at Nas, Jay-Z decided to step into the ring, and then Nas is playing the Ether track. Nas is doing Ether. Just from the outside looking in, based off of the information that I know, I don't know why these guys continue to call out Abba and Preach. You got to pick your battles. You have to pick your battles. You cannot just go back and forth with every single person that says something. And maybe there's a strategic move. Again, I'm just on the outside looking in doing a reaction video. Maybe there's a strategic move somewhere in there that they're going to do something. But you got to pick and choose your battles. Fresh and Fit, it seems as though they largely benefited after going back and forth because it brought a lot of visibility. And though it seemed like they was losing subscribers at the time, they took off like a rocket ship. You got to be able to give them their credit because they put out great content and they do the work. I'm not really seeing what the benefit is of Donovan Sharp or Rollo Tomasi going back and forth with Abba and Preach. Why? What's the point? What's the purpose? It's got to be, if I'm going to do something, never mind. Let's continue.
Not even, you can't even explain that away. Well, we wanted to get clicks. No, you didn't. We know you're full of shit.
You idiot.
I thought something way better was going to come out.
Oh, I got nothing else. You idiot.
Hey, listen. He said you had no reason. Nigga, this man did a whole live stream where he was calling his supposed wife a whole bunch of different names. And then not only that, he was talking about the wrong person, one of our friends. And so he was bringing her into the public eye and basically doxed her for everyone else to see for no reason. Okay? How are you going to call yourself the rational male and give this fucking schizo level defense of your good friend?
I'll easily defend Donovan. How can a man be a crook when his work actually saves lives more than what his haters ever have to say? You know what?
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
Yeah, and Abba and Preach are the bitches to tell to go to hell because they are shills. Openly, blatantly, obviously, they got shit all over their face, shills of Anthony Johnson. Because all that stuff has been out for ages, guys. You're not revealing anything new, and you look like idiots for doing it. In fact, you look worse than idiots. You look like shills. You look like you're...
Yeah, but I wasn't familiar with it. And as far as I knew, I would have never known about it had they not mentioned it. And I'm sure that Abba and Preach is almost 2 million subscribers as of the recording of this video. Wasn't familiar with it, but they were familiar with what they said about Abba and Preach's wife. So you can't control how somebody responds to whatever it is that you say about them. I'm reading super chats in a minute. Thank you for everybody that contributes to the platform.
That was fast money. You don't even know who he is. You probably have no earthly, you know who I am, you don't know who he is, you don't know who anybody in this sphere is whatsoever, but you're happy to take that fucking money and run with it. It's a paid, it's product placement. It's like getting that email in your emails. Hey, we really love your channel. We'd love for you to promote our new game, Warriors of Chaos, for $1,700 for a 30-second spot. That's you. And except that's your whole fucking show. Oh, let's see. Was it Excel Plus VPN? $1,700 for a 30-second plug. That's fucking you. That's you. And in this case, it just happened to be, oh, hey, can you do about a 20-minute hit piece?
That's definitely me. Listen, any sponsors that want a 30-second spot for about $1,700, make sure you email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com because we are definitely bag chasers and we leave no money on the table. That is definitely me.
On Don and Sharp, I'll give you $1,200. Are you guys that hard up for money? Because I'll give you $1,200 to go and I'll give you $1,300 to go do a hit piece on fucking Anthony Johnson. You probably take the money too.
I'm not gonna lie, yo, anybody want to pay me 20 grand to do a hit piece on this dude? I'll do 3 of them. Y'all give me 20 grand, I'll do 3. I'll do whatever. Hey, listen, apparently I'm paid a bot for, so I might as well make some money. So if y'all got 20 G's, I already don't like this dude. So I mean, I'll take 20 G's to do it. Hey, listen, you know what? We're gonna do a fundraiser at the bottom. Actually, I'm gonna do a GoFundMe. Yo, fuck it.
Oh, Jesus, look at that picture. Is that a real picture? Is that a real picture, y'all? I have no clue whatsoever. Is that a real picture, y'all? Did they really put up a GoFundMe? Stop it. Stop it. Don't do it. Yo, all of this is yo, honestly, don't fall for the bait. Can I give some advice? Can I respectfully give some advice? Don't fall for the bait, y'all. Whoever it is that is challenging them, this is a bait video. That's my honest to God opinion. It's a bait video. This is what was the Drake song before he dropped back to back on Meek? Whatever that Drake song, I'm Charged Up. That's what it was called. It was called Charged Up. This is Charged Up. If I'm Abba Preach, all this is a bear trap. This is a bear trap. They probably already is loaded up with a bunch. They probably got a video in the can waiting on you to say something wrong. This is Charged Up before back to back. Y'all got to be able to see the passes, see the moves.
Yo, fuck it. We're gonna do a GoFundMe. If we raise 20 G's, I'm gonna do a hit piece on this guy.
$1,200 to go and do. I'll give you $1,300 to go do a hit piece on fucking Anthony Johnson. You probably take the money too.
Certainly, you gotta pay us way more than that. Nah. Listen, we not one of them fools. You gotta pay a lot. You think product placement is $1,300 on our channel, bro? You gotta up them numbers. Your little broke ass beanie. Come on, bro. We better than you niggas. I'm just playing. That's what I always wanted to do that one time. Yeah. We better than you niggas. We got more money than you. That's what I'm saying.
I like broke ass beanie.
Listen, I just can't get. I can't take. I can't take a man in his 50s wearing a beanie. It's like seeing a woman in her 60s wearing baby fat. It's like your whore days are over.
No, but broke ass beanie.
Sorry, the baby fat and the whore thing is just that's always.
Yeah. But broke ass beanie.
Hey, listen.
That's a fire name.
Hey,
broke ass beanie.
Hey,
Hobo and Screech never learned their lesson. No, they don't. Like a bad fucking case of genital warts. Keep coming back.
That felt oddly personal. Like you're experiencing that right now.
Yeah. What's wrong, bro?
Like a bad case of herpes on your anus. Oh, okay. I think, you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to a lot of the folks in the Red Pill community because they're not having it. They say, nah, that dude's a fraud. And Roller, you look stupid for it. You know what? Let me give a shout out to the Red Pill. I never do this, but the fan base is not nearly as manipulated and easily
maybe
ill-informed as people make them out to be. You know, they coming from. They're like, yo, listen. Hey, listen. People are like, oh, I just realized the Red Pill's a giant joke. Even this guy. Okay. Yeah, people are noticing it.
But I don't, you know what? To be fair, I don't think it's the entire Red Pill. It's just that the goofballs are really goofballs.
I agree. I do like some of the content creators.
I don't think it's the whole Red Pill community that's like that. And I think that most guys in the Red Pill community, you're able to have a sit down with them. You're able to have a sit down with them, and they're not as delusional as that. Mm-hmm. They're not.
Let me again preface this by saying that I don't consider myself. First of all, Red Pill is more closely aligned with basically uncovering your eyes to see the truth of what's really happening in society, what's really happening with women, so that you can make more informed decisions and you're not actually living in this fairy tale land of what things are being presented to you, but you actually are facing the truth so that you won't find yourself in family court or faced with some bad decisions or whatever. So the concept behind Red Pill is not a bad thing. Often at times what happens, and this is not directed to anybody in particular, but often at times what happens is that you get other people that are extreme versions of whatever it is that you're doing. You can have extreme versions of liberals, extreme versions of conservatives. You can have extreme versions of red pill, blue pill, or whatever, so on and so forth. But eventually, ultimately, what it always does is it ends in infighting. Thank you for the super chats. I'm going to be reading them throughout the show. It ends in infighting, and there's always a lot of beef unnecessarily within these spaces. But let's see what else he's got to say.
Not as goofy and not as extreme. And even them, they're like, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be ready to you know what? I'm gonna take back a couple of things I said about the red pill. I'm not ready to put all of them in the same category. It's just that the goofballs are loud as fuck.
And there's a lot of them too.
Yeah, they're compensating for a lot of things.
But I will say, a lot of them do work with the goofballs and the frauds. So,
Yeah.
And they know that they're knowing frauds.
Yeah.
So that's a little sus. But anyways, low at everyone calling Rolo an emotional like it's an own. When can men be passionate and express their anger? Oh.
Yeah, because he's saying that he's passionate. He's not.
He's
not irrational.
Oh, he's not being emotional. He's being passionate. Oh my God. The amount of coke that you have to write something this fucking loserish. Men can be passionate. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Okay. So when women express any kind of volatility, all of a sudden they're hysterical, they're emotional. When men do it, they're being passionate.
Big Ack in the building.
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Need you to be a little bit honest with yourselves. Call a spade a spade. I think that pretty much covers it. I think this dude's a goofball, and it's just fascinating watching dudes call themselves rational males and all this other stuff, giving the most nonsensical arguments. Anything you want to say about this topic?
Oh no.
All right, I think that's it from us. I enjoyed that. Like I said, GoFundMe's in the bottom, 20K. I'm serious. I'm dead ass. If y'all get to 20K, 100% I'll do it.
So, what do y'all think about this whole thing? I think that this is a bait. This is a bait tactic. I think that how I would play it, I don't know, man. I'm pretty irrational myself sometimes because sometimes I'll fly off the handle. However, I will say that I keep some really, really dope people around me that add a lot of value into my life that say, Anton, let's map this out. Let's see where these different paths lead to. Does this make sense? Does that make sense? So on and so forth. So don't fall for the bait. Don't fall for the bait. It's not going to go to... More often than not, it never goes the way that you think it's going to go when it comes to beef and when it comes to going back and forth with people. It's not a good look. So you got to figure out whether or not it's going to make sense, whether you're going to benefit from it in the long term. And if you're willing to be able to take the hits, to take the back and forth, whatever it is that's going to come as a result of it in the short term in order to be able to benefit it in the long term. If there's no benefit in it in the long term, then stay away from it. So you got to be able to be a little bit more strategic when it comes to these things. Let me read some of these super chats. John Doe says, I've been running in the Victim Olympics most of my life and I'm exhausted. I think I'm finally ready to join the Bag Chasers. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the shop of the chat. Shout out to you, John Doe. And let me say this, the first way in which you're able to really be able to get over whatever it is that you're dealing with or being stuck in a rut is by admitting and being honest with yourself of where it is that you are in life. So shout out to John Doe. Coach Ali's Corner says, funny thing is, it wasn't even Preach's wife. It was a fellow comedian that they toured with. And we also need to start apologizing for when we get it wrong. We need to keep the same energy when we get it wrong as when we think that we're doing something. AL says, was that Emperor Palpatine? Jesus Christ. You're a mess, bro. Says, we told women to lose weight. Eating is healthy. Eating salad is healthy. Silver Lion says, oh, Rolo with that beanie and struggle tail. Does he got a tail? I don't know. I'm not familiar with his content. Shout out to Nicholas Armorit. I appreciate you with the fireball. My dog Vern says, men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie. They don't lie. I appreciate you for the Gems Road. Looking forward to that one-on-one call. It's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. Mr. Hillel says, red pill equal Hotep Madness 2.0. Y'all a mess. Aaron says, doing beef against professional comedians is not smart. Abba and Preach are about that action, battle-tested, ether track loading. I would stay away from it if I was them. I don't see the benefit of it. King Jimmy, NBA, PMP, says, Anton, you might not align with the red pill space, but you're definitely part of the space, especially you cooking on that Lambo chick on the Lapeef show. You never know. I might have her back tonight. might be an easy target. Thank you for the 2-ball, King Jimmy. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Also, Clubhouse or Cloudhouse ENT says silence is the response in this case. You don't always have to say something just because somebody says something to you. You got to pick and choose your battles. I will give no, I'm not giving no credit today because I don't want to give them any incentive to continue to dodge me. So that's that. Let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. Don. Don is facing significant challenges that come along with being a man. Let me say that again. Don Lemon thought he was safe because he was on the liberal side of the aisle and being able to do all of these reports for CNN. But Don Lemon is definitely facing, and I see you, James. James wanted, I'm going to read the super chat shortly. Don Lemon is starting to face the wrath of what we would call modern women. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. And Don, if you guys aren't familiar, because I did a live stream on this a couple days ago, Don responded to Nikki Haley, which is a Republican candidate for president. And Nikki said that most of the politicians today are too old and over the hill. Don Lemon, when asked about it live on air next to his 2 female co-hosts, who just happen to be white women, responded and said she shouldn't be talking about nobody being over the hill because she definitely hit the wall in the name of Kevin Samuels. Now, he didn't say that exactly, but I'm paraphrasing here. He said, listen, when you go over the hill, she going to be sitting there with her face right there next to over the hill. She not it. And they came for Don. As a matter of fact, I just heard and read today that Don just got reinstated back on CNN. He got to go through diversity, equity, and inclusion training. He got to go through sensitivity training. All right. And here's another thing that I heard. I heard that they're also saying that he got one more time to step out of line and they going to let him go and let the cannons fly. Don, let me cite my sources. Don Lemon. He has formal training. CNN. This might not be very credible. TMZ has been on it lately. He got one more time. Here, let me share my screen with y'all before we get into the video. This is what they're saying about Don. He got a final warning by CNN, and one more screw up, one more time, and we gonna let go of Don. That's what they saying out here in these streets. But although I'm not necessarily a Don Lemon fan, I was a fan of what it is that he said about Nikki Haley. Although I'm not personally a Don Lemon fan, and I don't like what side of the aisle that he stands on, and I don't like a lot of his takes, especially liberal takes, I start getting flooded in my email box and my DMs with different videos of Don throughout the years, probably more closely aligning with the things that I like than the things that I don't like. And so they found this video from 2013, and I want to play it for you guys, and I want to see how closely me and Don aligns when it comes to how it is that we think that we can solve for the problems within the black community. Let me go ahead and play this video, and then y'all tell me what y'all think about Don's take. Do you completely dislike Don, or do you more closely align with what it is that he feels sometimes? Because sometimes we may disagree with somebody on one thing, but we might agree with somebody on another thing, right? So let's play the video, and then I want to get your thoughts.
The reason he is right about that too, but in my estimation, he doesn't go far enough. Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5. And if this doesn't apply to you, if you're not doing this, then it doesn't apply to you. I'm not talking about you. Here's number 5. Pull up your pants. Some people, a lot of them black, gave me flack for saying that recently on the Wendy Williams show. If you're sagging, it means, I think it's your self-esteem is sagging and who you are as a person. It's sagging. Young people need to be taught respect, and there are rules. Sagging pants, whether it's Justin Bieber or no-name Derek around the way, walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon.
I thought it came from prison and that they take away your belt, or you actually giving a signal to the other prisoners that you're fruity and that it's time for you to go ahead and take your manhood. I heard that. That's what I thought. I think that he's actually censored this a little bit. And this is actually airing on CNN back in 2013. So don't rock with me when I was excoriating black people, but now you want to start to feel a certain type of way when I want to say that this woman is over the hill. Nah, I'm not taking no sensitivity training 10 years later. But I don't necessarily disagree with what Don is saying. I don't think that he's off. He said, listen, if you want to fix the black community, then you have to present yourself a little bit differently. He used pulling up your pants as an example. However, what he's saying is that you need to be a lot more presentable. And I get a lot of pushback for that. I get a lot of pushback when I tell people, listen, if you're going to go into being an executive and that's the thing that you're actually shooting for, then you might not want to look like a rapper and you might want to put down all of the black soap. And then y'all get mad at me and say, but Anton, that's our black culture. And then when I say, okay, well then go back to Johannesburg and do it there, then you want to feel a certain type of way. But let's see what the other 4 points is of what Don is saying, because I need to understand who this guy really is. And he's starting to send me down a path where I want to better understand what Don is saying.
And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex.
Oh,
the one with the really low pants is a submissive one. You get my point? Number 4 now is the N-word.
For our generation, what we did was we took the word and we took the power out of that word.
We took this word and we made it into poetry.
I understand poetic license, but consider this. I hosted a special on the N-word, suggesting that black people stop using it, and that entertainers stop deluding yourselves or themselves and others that you're somehow taking the word back. By promoting the use of that word when it's not germane to the conversation, have you ever considered that you may just be perpetuating the stereotype the master intended, acting like a nigger?
He put that hard R on there, though, didn't he? He put that hard R on there. I can't say that he's saying anything wrong. And the problem with it is not that people took the power back, because how is it any different than Amber Rose doing a slut walk and saying, we taking the power back out of calling somebody a slut? We're going to take something that was originally intended as negative, and I will also bring myself to the front of the congregation and say that I may be a little bit guilty of coming back to what it was that I thought would made sense back when I was younger and calling somebody a nigga when they acting like, because it's a difference between black people and niggas. All right? But the key is that the reality of it is that it then becomes hypocritical if we say that women can't call themselves slut and then try to turn it into a positive thing. But then we want to call each other niggas as a way in order to really show some endearment towards each other. It's true. And then for the rest of my life, even though I struggle sometimes with not cursing or not calling somebody that pissed me off a nigga, I'll probably struggle with not using the word for the rest of my life because I've already conditioned myself at a very young age to think that it was okay. But I'm retraining myself. I'm relearning.
A lot of African Americans took offense to that too, and I wondered if I gave the right advice. I really did. But confirmation came the very next day on my way home when I exited the subway on 125th Street in Harlem. This little kid in a school uniform, no older than 7 years old, he was crying his eyes out as he walked down the sidewalk with his mother. I'm going to be honest here. She turned to him and she said, "I'm sick of you. You act like an old-ass man. Stop all that crying, nigger."
For some reason, I don't think she said the R. She didn't put that hard R on there. And you could tell that Don was a little uncomfortable trying to force that out. You know what you meant to say, nigga. That's how you really supposed to say it. Don ain't even comfortable using the word, and that's how I know that he ain't used to doing it, which is not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That hard R, though, you know, black people, they get offended. You throw that hard R on there. Like, you could replace the A with an ER, and then it means something totally different in a man of black people.
Is that taking the word back? Think about that. Now, number 3, respect where you live.
I like this one.
Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here.
I'm curious, though. Why do we think it's always okay to do it in the less in neighborhoods that we predominantly reside in, but we don't think that it's okay to do it anywhere else? If you can't get away with it here, why would you try to get away with it there? That's why I think we should be more like Singapore. I think you should go to jail once we see. I can't stand. I don't like people parking on the grass. I don't like people throwing trash out the window. I don't even. You know, one of the things that actually has been pissing me off more often than not is when I see smokers throw their cigarette out the window, because I think for some reason that it's going to come dangerously close to getting stuck in the grill of my car. And my car costs over $150,000. Both of them. Both of them. BOFEM. Both of them. A piece. I don't like it. I don't care for it. And so I don't see anything that he's saying that's off. I don't see anything that he's saying is off. I don't have a problem with it.
Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids are acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English.
I don't have any. Listen, he hitting every point on the head. Because you intelligent, now you ain't real. Because you want to finish school and you want to go to class and you don't want to get a basket weaving degree, now you ain't real. He's absolutely correct.
A high school dropout makes on average $19,000 a year. A high school graduate makes $28,000 a year. A college graduate makes $51,000 a year. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's a lot of money. And number 1, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should.
I think Don might be my low-key spirit animal out here in these streets. We got more in common than we don't got in common when I based off of what it is that I've been seeing over the last few days from Don to the Don. Making lemons out of lemonade. Don said these modern women is out here having kids with no marriage, opening their legs. It's okay for you to open up your legs in order to let him hit and skeet in you, but it's not okay to make sure that he marry you first. And then we gonna have Boyce Watkins over there telling us to marry single mothers. No, you not. No, you not. You had them. You take the trash out with you when you leave. You had them. You take the trash out here when you leave. I think that he got it in order too. I don't even think that his order is wrong. I think that this is one of the number 1 reasons that's a problem within the black community. I'm sure Roland Martin would have a problem with this, though.
Especially without planning for one or getting married first. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male role model is an express train right to prison. And the cycle continues.
I don't have a problem with what Don is saying. I could see why the women, the ladies, are starting to come after him. They said, we don't care about your bleached skin. We don't care about your liberal views. We don't care that you sitting on CNN every day and you inside of the trenches, or that you work very hard to get where you at. We don't like you, Don. If Don ever get fired from CNN, it's a strong possibility he gonna be on here making red pill content. If Don ever get fired from CNN and he started getting, I hope he got his money invested, because he ain't got but one more time according to TMZ. If Don wound up getting fired from CNN, I very much expect him to be on his red pill content, and for me to be interviewing him similar to how I did Jason Whitlock. Real talk. So shout out to Don. Let me get to some of these super chats before we continue into the show. James wanted hit me with the 10 ball from Canada. Shout out to James. You won, big dog. Aaron says, if Gunna get fired, he better go out like when Martin got fired from the radio station. Radio. James wanted says, or doesn't make it any better. That word is what it is. That word is what it is. Shout out to James Wanted and all of my Canadian brethren is out here in these streets. I appreciate you. I love y'all. Again, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Make sure you get your Alpha Juice because they have been supporting the platform significantly since the beginning of the year, and it is absolutely a phenomenal company. Do not order your Alpha Juice, unless you put the description or you put the discount code into the description so that we can make sure we get that money off and we can go ahead and get what we need to get so we can go where we need to go. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, let's continue. I got one more thing that I want to tap in with you guys. Because this is something that's big and it's something that's been announced. Specifically, Meta had previously indicated that they didn't plan on doing any more layoffs, but the way that Mark Zuckerberg is structuring the company right now and the recent announcements that's been happening is showing that it's a strong possibility and he's planning for more layoffs. But the thing that we need to start asking ourselves is, why are these layoffs happening in the first place? And if you did not catch all of my previous live streams over the last 2 years in which I was telling y'all to prepare yourselves, and I actually got the bag chasers to a space to where they won't be affected by what goes on in the economy because we actually are intentional. If you're not a part of the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Okay? We need to understand the why behind what these layoffs are and what does it mean for the economy specifically. We mined this out for black people and the diversity and inclusion teams. We are familiar with the 31 masseuses that Google laid off. And when they say tech layoffs, often at times we associate everybody that's under a tech company, but that's not necessarily what it means. Let's deep dive into this for a little bit, and then I'm going to open up the panel for you guys to be able to join me and give whatever insight and information that you want to contribute into the show. Because I love you and I appreciate you. Again, make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications, ladies and gentlemen.
Big tech companies like Meta, Google, and Amazon have been laying off a staggering amount of workers, tens of thousands of people.
Microsoft and Google, within just a couple days of each other, within 48 hours of each other, both announcing they're laying off 12,000 people in Microsoft's case, 10,000 people in Google's case.
And I think we aren't giving these layoffs as much due as they actually deserve. Right now, folks are saying, oh, well, that's just in the tech sector. It's a white collar layoff. It doesn't really matter as much. But the reality is these are still hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Historically, people didn't really care as much about what's happening out here. Shout out to Showtime with the 15 ball says, for take a shot, keep dropping that good game. I appreciate you, big dog. Thank you for the Cash App. Thank you to everybody that continues to support me on Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, and all of that. Historically, people never really cared as much about the layoffs because they were only affecting mostly blue-collar workers until 2007, 2008 hit. Union jobs, because people are adamantly against the union that's not in the union because they believe that they take up a lot of resources and they only protect the people that's pookies and ray-rays. Blue-collar jobs were the ones that people really, really started to talk about. But then, you know, they kind of blinked an eye and turned their head a little bit when it started to be white-collar jobs, right? And that's what you're starting to see today is that you're starting to see everybody affected. And they're creating more blue-collar jobs, more fast food jobs, more warehouse jobs because whenever they need to cut costs, largely what's happening is similar to what was happening within these unionized environments in the first place, right? And we're starting to see that with social media because we get an inside peek into what being a white-collar tech worker really means, right? A lot of tech workers, and I'm going to be honest with you, the overwhelming majority of them probably don't even do 3 hours of work a day. They go to work, they eat good, they get all of the benefits, they get their dry cleaning, they get shuttle buses, they ain't got to spend no money and all of this other type of stuff. They make all of the money and they very rarely do work. And it created an environment where a lot of people started to feel a certain type of way about that because then it seems like people don't have the same sympathy or they don't feel sorry for you anymore because they feel like you've been getting away with it for a long time anyway.
There wasn't really one area of focus we're seeing getting cut. It's kind of across the board and at all levels.
Shout out to all of the new Patreon members. I'm getting a lot of notifications that a lot of y'all are ready to level up. Some of y'all are emailing me saying, Anton, I want to book a coaching session. Some of y'all joining the Patreon. Shout out to all of the new bag chasers. Can we get a round of applause inside of the chat for the new bag chasers?
So, what do the widespread tech layoffs mean for the larger economy and those persistent recession forecasts?
The first of the layoffs really started with Meta, which laid off about 10,000 employees, and this came after their earnings last.
Actually, the first layoffs, and he's wrong about this, came at Twitter. And then once Twitter did it and they eliminated the overwhelming majority of their workforce, because Elon Musk bought the company, realized that it was top heavy. He eliminated, they went from 7,500 workers to less than 1,800, but nothing actually broke with Twitter. They realized that they were really top heavy. And so once Elon Musk come in and innovate, it makes it okay for everybody else because it just seems like that's the norm. And Elon Musk had already took the hits as a result of it.
Last year, when they said, look, we're spending so much money on the metaverse, we're losing, up to $13 or $14 billion on this project. And investors hated that.
Meta stock fell more than 70% and lost more than $700 billion in valuation before Meta decided to lay off 11,000 workers. The stock ticked higher after the announcement.
They get the message from the street loud and clear. We aren't clear about what metaverse return on investment would look like. Having said that, if you can control costs in metaverse, I think that would be a positive.
The next big tech name to lay off people off.
Before he goes into that, let me give you all a little bit of insight into Meta, aka Facebook, and what the strategy is. The metaverse is not a flop, and the metaverse is still going to come. It's similar to autonomous driving in that you have to wait for the infrastructure to catch up with the innovation, right? And so as we continue to trudge forward and we continue to do the things that's going to continue to force us to innovate, when they said that electric cars wasn't real, back in the early 90s, and I remember they even used to say, yo, by the time that we graduate in 2000, I graduated high school in 2000. By the time we graduate in 2000, they're going to have flying cars. Flying cars are still coming. It's just that when you start to take into consideration politics and lobbyists and infrastructure and all of these other type of things that's going on, it innovates a lot slower than usual. And on top of that, what you had seen happening at Meta was they were creating all of these new teams based off of new products that they were producing. And then when they would kill the product and they would keep one, but they wouldn't keep the other, they would just repurpose whoever that developer was or whoever was a part of that team into another part of the company, right? And so you started to get really, really top heavy. And instead of them reallocating people according to their resources, when a company gets so big, they start to move slow and they can't innovate as well as they used to, all right?
Was Amazon. Up to 18,000 employees are getting fired starting this year. It was announced last year. Again, same story. Overhiring and overexpanding during the pandemic, and now these companies feel the need to cut costs.
We've certainly seen a slowdown in the advertising business over the last 6 to 9 months, and so this is clearly the response to that, to try and preserve those margin pressures.
These tech giants that are laying off employees are essentially tech conglomerates. And so tech layoffs across the board look like scary numbers. But if they are in parts of the businesses that are structurally weaker or perhaps in decline, that is less concerning than if we have job cuts in, say, the higher growth areas of the business. And in someone like Microsoft's case, that would be an area like Azure.
The big reason why, or the common thread between all of these big tech companies for their layoffs, is they grew too quickly during the pandemic. There was this glut of spending on tech products when the pandemic first hit and people were stuck at home and businesses had to find ways to help their employees work from home. So that means buying a lot of computers, buying a lot of IT services, Zoom subscriptions, you name it. That all caused a lot of money to be injected into the tech industry. And some people in the tech industry, some executives, got a little overconfident thinking this growth is going to be sustained forever. Let's hire.
Actually, that's not what happened. I don't know where they get these experts from, but that's not what happened. What happened was they accelerated profitability instead of it actually expanding how it was supposed to. So I'll give you an example, right? What Netflix did, and Netflix is doing absolutely phenomenal. It's probably one of my best performing stocks in my portfolio, right? What Netflix realized, and they had already planned for it, what Netflix realized was that because of the pandemic, it accelerated growth, but it was also going to be a pay the piper moment that was coming down the line as far as them having to explain to shareholders why growth wasn't continuing to explode in the same way that it did during the pandemic. So when everybody got stuck at home, everybody went and got a Netflix subscription. When everybody got stuck at home, everybody went and got a Peloton. What they didn't realize, or what the regular consumer wasn't paying attention to, is that this accelerated growth forced companies to have to compete with each other for workers, because there were only so many people that were available, and we were already short the amount of people that we needed for these particular jobs, which is one of the reasons why I keep telling y'all in coaching sessions on this and in the Patreon, think about what you want and how it's going to affect you long term when you decide to go into a specific industry. So, for example, trying to become a software engineer, trying to become a cybersecurity professional. You can go to a boot camp. You can try to do it the shortcut way, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially to get your foot in the door. But you also need to plan for the long-term repercussions that come along with when there's going to be ups and downs within the industry. Now, you can recover, and you're probably not going to have no problem whatsoever, because we still short a lot of types of professional workers, and that industry is going to grow long term. But when I tell y'all, okay, listen, take a long-term approach, go to community college, be able to do that, and then take the 4-year growth plan while you're also working within the industry, I'm insulating you and I'm protecting you against what's going to happen in the ebbs and the woes and the flows that goes on in the industry, as well as preparing you for the long-term repercussions and the possibility of you going higher within corporate America within those organizations. And so it's going to be much easier, or a much higher ceiling, when you already have the backing and the paperwork behind you, in order for you to actually get to these next level, instead of trying to be reactive versus being proactive of what it is that you want within the society. I tell you all the time, I said it in the beginning of the live stream, reverse engineer what you want by identifying what the end goal is first, and then create the milestones. Just because you're in the industry does not mean that you have to stop growing or investing in yourself, because that is going to be the way in which you continue to insulate yourself and allow for you to make the big bags long term. You don't want to put a handicap on yourself. You want to make sure that you're preparing for the long term. Now, what happened with these companies, again, wasn't just that they thought that this money was going to go on forever and the growth was going to happen forever. They knew what was going on. They were realistic about it. What they understood was that they were accelerating, or they were pushing forward what the growth was going to be long term, and they were giving themselves an injection. But they knew they was going to have to slow down. It's nothing for them to actually be able to get rid of the employees, but it's better to be prepared and let go of people than not have enough people. That was the philosophy that came along with a lot of these tech companies, which is one of the reasons why they overhired.
Hire now and get ready for that growth, but they over projected it, and now we're seeing an economic slowdown and everything's coming home to roost. Now that we're seeing these companies refocus on their core missions.
If I was able to predict the economic slowdown well before the pandemic ever really started hitting, what makes you think that all of these dudes wasn't able to see that also? When I told y'all to get out of Zillow, get out of Peloton, they got an acceleration of growth, and they're going to actually slow down because the fundamentals of the business is not great, it's flawed. What makes you think that they wasn't going to be able to see this also?
And focus on what they believe is going to be the next wave of tech computing, specifically artificial intelligence.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg conceded the same point in the company's layoff letter to employees.
This was ultimately my call, and it was one of the hardest calls that I've had to make in the 18 years of running the company.
Largely what's happening in tech is that they are right-sizing after the COVID surge in demand. And so that demand surge was off-trend. They hired to accommodate those surges, and so they hired well above their organic trend and growth rates.
And in many cases, not only was there the increased need, we'll call it, for infrastructure expansion and those sorts of things, but also you had just such a rush of customers. You needed salespeople, you need customer support.
And you always going to have salespeople. Salespeople will always be able to make all of the money. They're going to be the last to go because they are the ones that drive the revenue, which is one of the reasons why they make all of the money. Salespeople are the ones that drive the revenue, and if you are not afraid of actually being customer facing or cold calling or actually standing in front of customers, you will always thrive. It's the first thing that I jumped into once the pandemic hit. I went to 100% 100%. I didn't have any kind of salary. I was 100% incentivized to go into sales because I knew that I could, it was the work that I put into it and my ability to be able to communicate with the customer effectively.
Other levels of operating costs, essentially.
But in other cases, there are businesses where through time they have been very sort of cost conscious, so they've been investing for growth at all costs, and for that reason have fairly weak profitability relative to where investors perceive they should be.
If things do get worse, you'll try to see more consolidation. The big guys are going to be okay. Google's going to be okay. Apple's not going out of business anytime soon, no matter how bad the economy gets. But what you do want to look for is some of the more weaker.
Shout out to Savalas Norwood for the super chat. I appreciate, for the Cash App. I call it a super chat for the Cash App. I appreciate you guys. You're absolutely awesome.
Companies, those growth companies that either had no profits or were barely profitable, those could either go out of business or become really attractive acquisition targets for one of the bigger guys in this environment.
So the point that I'm making to you guys is that you have to be very, very proactive. And the theme of this show was largely to give you the idea that you have to pick and choose your battles, and you have to be very strategic of how it is that you're going to look at things long term. There is no reason for you ever to move outside of doing the thing that's in your best interest based off of the long-term results. Do not get caught up thinking short-term, whether that be in you getting into a battle online with Abba and Preach and Donovan Sharp and Rolo Tomasi, or you're not planning for the future of how it is that you're going to make sure that you're always getting into the bag, and when everybody else is suffering, you'll be incredibly successful. Let me read a few more super chats, all right? Shout out to Natasha. Natasha says, got another raise yesterday, 8.2%. I blame Anton. Join the Patreon. Shout out to my Canadian people. And Natasha, one of the most phenomenal people that we have. She is a moderator in the Discord. If you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to Natasha. Link to the Discord for all of my new Bag Chasers, Patreon members. It's in the most recent videos. It's in all of the most recent videos. You can tap into that, all right? Shout out to Natasha. Bag Chasers, can we get a round of applause for Natasha, making sure that she continue to win and get that bag? Rita's clapping over here. Silver Lion says, my professional field is tech-based. These chat GBT and various AI tools will devastate the tech industry. If I work 1 or 2 hours a day, that's a long day. That means that y'all got to be strategic and preparing for that, right? Carl McMichael says, Anton, I work at Dell and we just laid off 5%. They cut the majority of non-essential roles and executives. That's another thing that people are not paying attention to. One of the first people to go when they start doing layoffs and tech cuts is that they call the bottom and then they call the top. The middle is largely safe, or is safer than, way safer than the bottom, definitely more safer than the top. When they start cutting costs, there's going to be some heads rolling, especially within the executive ranks. That is a fact. So shout out to you. I appreciate that insight. Thank you, my friend. Anthony Brown says, bro, Anton, a recent Patreon member here. I shot you an email. Please get back to me when you can. If you have 30 minutes anywhere on your calendar, I need to speak with you, bro. Anthony Brown, write that name down so we can make sure that we check every email, but write down Anthony Brown for me, please. I got you, Ant. Thank you for the 10 ball. Mel Duke says, I've changed my focus and applied a lot of positive things into my life. I've rid myself of dead weight, including friends, family that do not add anything positive into my life. Coaching session. Shout out to Mel Duke is in the building. We appreciate you for the 10 ball and every single person that contributed to the platform today. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for always rocking with me, always making sure that I can add value into your life, and for joining the Bag Chasers. If you have not already, make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, share this with your family and friends, and then we need you to do me one more favor before we get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. We don't want to be rich by ourselves. I love you. I appreciate you. I think you guys are absolutely positively the best thing that's ever happened on the internet as far as the most phenomenal friends and family that I've ever met in my life. Thank you, friends. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.